What's up, everybody?
What's up, everybody? How's everybody doing? Thank you so much, Kai, for the 4-month reset, 4 months of affiliated GGN. Welcome. I am Kaisa.
I am Marrone. Thank you so much to the early gang that is in here for the daily gaming news channel here on Twitch.
And thank you so much, Sequasi, as well for the 4 months. Oh my goodness. How is everyone doing? How are you doing, Marrone?
I'm doing really good. I've been not sleeping too much. Been really busy. It's a weird time. It's a weird time. What about you?
I'm good. I'm not wearing eyeliner today because I have another audition to play at 16 to 17-year-olds, which I don't think I could do, but Hollywood apparently thinks I can do, so okay.
Yeah, all right. I like it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't see it. I think that's because I know you. But I would say that maybe somebody who doesn't know you could probably allow it to pass.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't think I could do this. Yeah, but if my agent says so, I'm like, whatever. More auditions for me.
I'm in it. Yeah. How's everybody doing in the chat? Hope we're all doing good. Everyone who is here today, we actually have a packed show of information. One topic is going to probably cover a lot of time as we share our opinions on it. But some of the things we're going to be talking about today is the lawsuit that continues to pursue action over Xbox drift in their controllers.
Genshin Impact recoups their development cost in just 2 weeks after grossing over $100 million.
2 weeks. Ugh. And Activision-Blizzard continues to show its true colors as employees are calling for a strike over office closure and layoffs.
In other news of companies that don't really know what they're doing, Stadia promises 3 days of good stuff starting October 20th, so who knows what that means.
And then Star Citizen turned 8 this week, but still that single-player campaign sounds like it's a long way off.
We have a trailer from Aquanox Deep Descent, which is an underwater vehicle shooter that looks super cool.
It really does, actually, when we show the full gameplay. And then we have our silly game of the week, which is a game called Going Under, and it pokes fun at the capitalist nightmare of tech startups.
We're going to be talking, if we have time, about how free-to-play gaming giant Roblox confidentially files to go public.
And then we'll also jump in, if time allows us. The dairy industry is partnering with the video game industry to reach Gen Z.
Which is so cringe to me. When I found this, I was like, what? So it's going to be way later on the show, or maybe tomorrow, but it's like the dairy industry is like, how do we get kids to drink milk? Gaming!
That'll be it. Milk, the choice of all gamers.
So weird. Yeah, milk's gonna be the new G Fuel. I don't know. And as always,
what's in the mug?
What's in the mug?
Throw in your guesses in the chat. We will figure it out. But let's dive right in, because this is one that I've suffered from as we talked about this the last time when we were going to jump into the story, is that there is a lawsuit that is continuing. It's a class action lawsuit over drifting and Xbox controllers, and it's been amended to include additional plaintiffs and specific mention of the most recent Elite controllers, which my Elite Series 2 does have controller drift. And that original lawsuit was filed in April of this year and alleged that drifting issues have been experienced by a large volume of Xbox owners across various controller models.
Now, an amended complaint filed on October 2nd has been filed in the U.S. Court for the Western District of Washington, adding an additional 7 plaintiffs and demanding a jury trial to address its allegations against Microsoft. Notably, the updated class action specifically adds Xbox Elite Series 1 and 2 controllers to the list of peripherals it alleges are experiencing drifting issues. Series 2 controllers went on sale in late 2019.
And that amended suit also includes additional details on the alleged stick defect that causes drifting, and the issue which leads to controller movements being registered even when the analog sticks are left untouched. Again, something I've been experiencing.
The class action claims that the drifting issue is caused by a controller defect related to the potentiometer within the joystick component, the mechanism that translates the physical movement of the thumbstick into movement within software.
It also alleges that the component contains a known design flaw related to a grease-like lubricant, which causes resistive material scraped off of a curved track that causes unwanted movement without input from the user. The lawsuit alleges that Microsoft is fully aware of the drifting defect after numerous online complaints received from its customers, and yet to, quote, failed to disclose the defect and routinely refuses to repair the controllers without charge when the defect manifests.
It claims that the plaintiff's experiences are not isolated and that a large volume of consumers have been complaining about stick drift on Xbox One controllers since at least 2014. Along with monetary relief, the plaintiffs are seeking a public injunction requiring Microsoft to notify all Xbox controller owners about the defect.
And the complaint reads like this: Microsoft lures consumers into purchasing the Xbox controllers by touting the Xbox controllers as superior controllers that enhance gameplay, describing the Elite controllers as the world's most advanced controller, and emphasizing the Xbox One joysticks and buttons as possessing ultimate precision.
Microsoft does not disclose to consumers that the Xbox controllers are defective, causing the joystick component to fail. Members of the general public have the right to know the latent defects within the controller components, according to the class action. A similar one was filed against Nintendo last year concerning drifting Switch Joy-Con controllers, and last month a judge approved Nintendo's move to compel arbitration but denied a request to dismiss.
And Nintendo is arguing that Switch Joy-Con drift isn't a real problem or hasn't caused anyone any inconvenience, according to a U.S. law firm, CSK&D, which is working to pursue that case through the arbitration process.
I'm thinking, were controllers always this bad, that there was always some element of drift? And also looking up some videos with, like, you know, Joy-Con Switch, like, stick drift repair, and, you know, with the Xbox controller as well, it seems pretty simple to actually fix it on your own, but it's like, it feels kind of like a hack way versus if the company themselves, like, maybe had like a kit, or maybe was like, hey, if your controller is experiencing this is just like routine maintenance you might have to do. Yeah,
if you use language like they're addressing to say you have this superior device, and your device goes through regular usage and you immediately have this issue, then what you're claiming your device isn't, and yes, you should be fixing them for free. And that is a part of what is the promise as consumers to you know, manufacturers. You don't get to, like we've talked about before here, you don't get to say one thing, deliver another, and then not expect to have to deal with that problem when it's your problem as the manufacturer.
Absolutely. They're saying, oh, it's the ultimate precision, like this is the world's most advanced controller, and it breaks. And I'm pretty sure, I think chat told me, or some people told me, that they use Xbox controllers for things like outside of games, like for like operating other things. And like if you're gonna tout that this is, you know, a really, you know, useful device, it's got to work. I don't know why they just don't kind of own up to this drift. They don't want to admit that it's there. I don't know, maybe that leads to some legal issues if they actually like acknowledge the problem. But from a consumer perspective, I just wish they would be like, hey, this is an issue, we didn't do enough testing, we're sorry, we'll fix your controller, or this is how you can fix it yourself.
That's what it should be. The Elite Series 2 controller is no small price. You know, when it first came out, it was like $200. I think it's dropped down to like $150. It's still a very expensive controller, has a lot of options that come with it and a lot of features that make it feel great. But then once you realize you get this defect, which is inside the controller, something you have to risk possibly voiding any type of warranty you have on it by getting in there and fixing it, it should absolutely be handled by Microsoft. You know, it used to be the case, and I remember this, it used to be the case, a lot of the times these defects would happen. You'd issue this with the manufacturer like Sony or Xbox, and you'd send it in, they'd fix it, and they'd send it right back to you. It was a part of like the whole like coverage that you would have. Where did that go? Why has that been like disappearing? And they're like, oh yeah, we're not going to do it. We're not going to handle it. Same with like Nintendo. It's like, no, Joy-Con drift has been a conversation for a long time. And now this one with Xbox is about to become the same kind of conversation of, you can't deny that this exists. We've proven it exists.
We've seen it. There's so much anecdotal evidence, you know, from people that it's like it's real. And I don't know if they've done like I think they've done like studies, or they know that there's like a lot of people that experience this. Chat says, operating what other things? So it's the military. I wanted to fact check that before I said it, because I was like, oh, I don't want to spread fake news, but there is a link to a Verge article saying that the Navy uses Xbox 360 controllers, which is wild. So they use it to like control their periscopes and submarines. But yeah, Xbox controllers are now being used for other things.
Wow. Okay. That makes sense. I guess. I mean, yeah, it
I
is like
guess.
the recommended device to use if you're going to use a controller for Windows. It pairs
Right.
immediately, so maybe that's the case. Did you see somebody down there with a controller as they're moving the periscope
Yo,
around?
gaming.
Yo, what you playing, son? Yeah, I'm just playing with the periscope. Oh, cool. All right.
Oh,
Carry on.
sweat. Yeah, continue. You're right. I think this should be like just under the umbrella of just like the coverage you get if you're going to pay, you know, a lot of money for one of these controllers, if you're going to buy into the Xbox ecosystem. I hope that it's addressed and it's not just like outright denied as it kind of seems that they've done with this.
That's important, and I hope they do that too, because they're really gaining some momentum with what they're doing with Xbox Series X and the Game Pass and kind of this approach that they're having, that if they try to play the whole we deny it, we're not gonna handle this issue whatsoever, this will be something that'll backfire on them really quickly. Because I'm someone sitting here and I've got the two controllers over to the side that I'm like, I'm happy to attach myself to that class action and be like, yeah, I need my controllers fixed or replaced. Hurry up, Microsoft. Thank you.
Right? I mean, why not if the option is there?
Absolutely.
But a company that's been doing really well and has, you know, promised or has delivered on what has promised is Genshin Impact, which recoups its development cost in just 2 weeks.
Guys, let's just process this for a moment. Miyoho's Genshin Impact has grossed over $100 million since it launched globally 2 weeks ago. That is a huge global success for a game from out of China. Now, data from several sources confirms that the game has made upwards of $100 million in the US in 12 days. And that game's development budget was reported to be in the range of $100 million. So at this point, it looks like they've recouped that cost and now just might be making money.
Free-to-play, open-world, cel-shaded RPG Genshin Impact launched on September 28th and has become very popular in Japan, Korea, and China, though it's not without its fans in the Americas and Europe. It's not without critics or controversy either.
So prominent Asian games industry commentator Daniel Ahmad expects, and this is a little ridiculous, that the game will soon have made more than 1 billion RMB, which is the Chinese currency. That's nearly 150 million in the US. And a business analyst with a firm from Nico Partners said that Genshin Impact was, without a doubt, the most successful launch for an original IP from a Chinese developer. And that echoes thoughts around the internet last week that Genshin Impact was the biggest ever global launch from a Chinese developer.
I think we're going to see more and more of this. And we discussed that also, like Black Myth, Wukong looks super cool. The rise of there's so much gaming, there's so much esports in China. There's so many players. There's so many, people that can play these games and develop these games over there. I mean, it's no surprise that, we're now seeing, these huge games, come from there. And for me, the moral of the story with Genshin Impact is just like, make a good game and it's going to be successful.
This is honestly crazy. This like echoes what you see of a Marvel film that comes out where it recoups and profits within the first week or 2 weeks. A game doing this is just, it's mind-blowing. Oh my God, thank you so much for the sub there, Ray Skywalker. Really appreciate that. What's up, everybody who's now joining us? When you look at 2 weeks time, 12 days in the US, and you're like, they're already at 100 million. I mean, if it stays on that pattern, right? What's that number in a couple months? What's that number in a year? If they continue to develop for the game like it seems that they're going to do, and they continue to add stuff, where is Genshin Impact in terms of the profit margin come 2021, 2022? That's mind-blowing. And I think one of the other things that this is doing is also setting the bar for those other developers doing exactly what you said they should be doing, which is focus on making a good game. If you want to do the free-to-play model, great. Make it a truly free game that you can play from beginning to end, and add all the features if people want to buy it, because it's ultimately a good game and people want to invest in it.
Right, and it seems like there's a lot of the story. Apparently Genshin Impact, has a lot to there. There's a lot of substance, which I think is lacking in, some games that have come out. They maybe look cool, maybe look flashy, like Crucible, for example, but once you actually play it, there's nothing there. Meanwhile, I've heard from so many gamers that people are saying that, like, oh, I just spent like 12 hours in Genshin Impact. I just spent, 8 hours in Genshin Impact. I just like couldn't stop playing it. It's just that good. I really hope we see more of this, and I hope, Genshin Impact is kind of like a lasting game, that it's not just a trend, because I'm so wary of games just becoming like 2-week trends and then disappearing. I really hope that, this sticks around longer. And while I'm not super happy with how it kind of plays into gambling instincts with the gotcha, style, I hope there's maybe, regulations with it, or people are aware, and, they know that could be a problem if they play, so everyone can enjoy responsibly.
That's a great point as well too, because that was our concern and something we've addressed with this. You're like, what's the percentage of that money that's possibly tapping into this human error within creating a gambling addiction, or tapping into that, and that all being there. So, if they do work that angle to be on the consumer side, like we were talking about before, I would only be more of a champion for this developer and other developers that want to follow in that suit, because succeed, get your earnings in two weeks to pay what you put into for the cost of development, and then just chill. Like, these developers could just be like, hey, 2 weeks after a game comes out, we are now just profits, baby. Like, I mean, come on, that is such a ridiculous thing. $100 million in 2 weeks for a video game. I hope
This happens more and more, because games take years and years and years to make, and it just seems kind of, I don't know, maybe at least to me, kind of discouraging that it's like such a long haul. It's such a marathon. You have to like pump out all this new content. It takes so long to develop. No, but as you said, after 2 weeks, it's like, all right, we good. Like we chilling. Like, it paid off. What's next?
That's absolutely correct. But there is an opposite company to what we know of from Genshin, a company that's made $1 billion in the first quarter of the year, and they're laying off employees and closing offices. And of course, those employees are rightfully calling for other employees to strike, and that is Activision-Blizzard.
So last week, you may have been aware that Activision-Blizzard revealed plans to completely shutter their office in Versailles, France. This would put a complete closure to the company's operations within France. The unions representing Activision-Blizzard employees in France have called for a strike to protest against this closure, and it wouldn't be the first time the unions have beaten the company.
Yesterday, a copy of the letter calling for the strike was posted on Twitter by the user Thilewin. And the letter states that despite constant denials of any plans to close the studio, Activision-Blizzard is now trying to close the studio in Versailles, France. Now, as that letter says, such a plan to completely close the studio isn't simply made impulsively. Activision-Blizzard will have been planning this for a decent period of time, while outright lying while answering the question.
According to the letter, the closure of the studio will place 285 people, some of which have been in the company for over 30 years, on the job market in a time of worldwide uncertainty. The letter also indicates how in 2019, the company tried to lay off 133 people with a plan that was canceled in court. These layoffs were eventually followed through following long negotiations with the government, with 134 staff taking a compensation package to leave at the start of 2020.
The letter also states that Activision-Blizzard attempted to cut jobs in March of 2020, which also had to be canceled. In response, the letter alleges that Activision-Blizzard had willingly deteriorated word conditions to a point where psychosocial risks raised dangerously, forcing work inspection to intervene, and that the CSE to launch a droit d'alert. For your information, the CSE is the Social and Economics Committee, and a droit d'alert is a right to alert, which will now lead to an investigation of the workplace. They are officially under investigation.
The end of the letter also questions the logic of this closure, something that we've questioned, and if you look into it, you'll see as well. So the unions question the logic of closing the office for competitiveness when Activision-Blizzard are leading the industry, while pointing out the fact that the video games industry has suffered less than others, even benefiting and seeing earnings increasing. Furthermore, the unions point out the consistent tax evasion of Activision-Blizzard, something that has been decried by a lot of publishers and journalists quite a few times.
And despite these record results, like $1 billion this year in the first quarter, despite even more money going into the hands of supervillain Bobby Kotick and the select few higher ups that also are profiting off of this. Some shareholders have been getting questioned, and it looks like they're looking to lay off more people. Unfortunately for Activision-Blizzard, they are trying to lay off people in a country that actually has workers' rights, likely in a move to remove most jobs and pile on more work to existing employees, while relocating remaining jobs to countries where they can treat employees like they're disposable.
That's terrifying to me if that's the case. If they're like, hey, workers in France are treated well because they strike, because they demand rights, because they should, because they're human beings, like, let's shutter that office and put this work on other people. If that's the reason, that is just so horrible. I think it's, I guess, warranted if maybe, there's a job that becomes obsolete. I think you try to, transition that worker into another position at your company, to see if there's other work for them to do, because I'm sure there is. Activision-Blizzard is a huge company. But to just, lay them off and to just be like, okay, good luck, I think is just awful. And I don't think business should be run like that.
I don't either. And what's crazy is in 2019, Bobby Kotick, his salary was $30 million. And even one of the shareholders had spoken out and said, we believe that that's too much and that shouldn't be the case. What is that number going to be when it's reported this year, when they've hit record numbers that they've never hit before? This is the area of Activision-Blizzard where I'm like, I think we just have to call them for what they are. They are a greedy company. They are not, in fact, on the side of the consumers, and they are not, in the fact, on the side of their own employees. The employees are not disposable. These developers and these individuals that have worked for the company for as long as they have, 30 years, 3 decades of someone's life, they should be respected. They should be taken care of. When you're generating $1 billion in literally 4 months of time, 3-4 months of time, there is no excuse for laying people off, especially in the climate that we're in. This is absurd.
Right.
Like, I don't want to pay money to this company whatsoever anymore. I don't want to buy any of their games. I don't want to fund them in any way, because that's what I know I'm paying towards, right? I know that my enjoyment of the video games that they may make that I like is going towards these people at the top who can just dispose of these employees like it's nothing, and they shouldn't be, while the shareholders and, Bobby Kotick continues to profit.
Right? We've been seeing so many articles and reporting so much on, like, this is a massive year for gaming. So much money is being made. Sales are just through the roof. Like, wow, like, so much money is to be made. And I feel like we're going back to this problem that seems like it's getting worse and worse with wealth inequality, where it's like the workers are suffering and, the shareholders and the people at the top are bringing in more and more. I think last night on stream I was saying, like, can't I just, like, buy something without contributing to some awful, horrible social problem? Like, can't I just, like, enjoy a game, like, without, benefiting some of these evil people? There are, good companies. It's just, I just hate to hear that this is happening. I'm glad that these workers, are striking. I know in France, I guess it's kind of a stereotype that, workers strike, but I think it's a good thing. I hope that, we see more of that, like in the US, people saying, like, no, I'm not going to just, like, take this lying down. I'm actually going to fight for my job. I'm going to fight for my rights, because it's really necessary. And I hope that, I hope the gaming community and I hope a lot of people see these kinds of actions of how they're trying to lay off all these people and, and really denounce it and really, make themselves heard, that this shouldn't be a practice that's just accepted. That's just okay, because it's not.
It's not okay. Being married to a woman from Portugal, she helped me understand strikes happen all the time over there. And part of the reason it happens all the time over there is because they're being mistreated. And those people have the right to stand up and say, no, you don't get to mistreat me. So yes, everyone should have that right. You are entitled that when you come into existence in this world. That should just be a given. We should be having that within our businesses, right? But when you look at this company, and this is something really to address, because like what Odo was saying, like, you're literally messing with people's livelihoods. And Meg even asked a question that I'm genuinely curious about is, what is going to be the pay raise for somebody like Bobby and these shareholders? Where do their increase happen when the decrease of their employees in France and they relocate jobs to or responsibilities to other employers and employees? Like, where do we get to that information? When do we get that information? I believe we should be aware of that information before it's months down the road. Oh, by the way, they made an $2-3 million extra dollars on their already $30 million salary when they did these layoffs.
I hope that, I assume it's going to be a big fat check. I hope people get really angry about it, because it shouldn't just be, all about greed here. At least I don't think so. Also with layoffs, I feel like I know so many people that have been laid off. Chat, you probably know so many people that have been laid off. And when I hear about some of these companies like laying off workers, I don't know if I think they realize, I don't think they care of how much that really affects people. Like, people have to move cities, they have to move back home, they have to leave all their friends, they have to uproot their life, they're out of work. People getting into kind of like the unemployment rut where they can't do anything except like watch TV and apply to jobs while being like miserable for months and months on end. Like, being laid off really sucks. And to just, lay off, workers because they're kind of inconvenient for you, I don't think it's a reason. Chat asks why they're laying off these workers. It's not really made clear, honestly. It doesn't seem like they really just have they don't seem to have a good reason to do it.
No. And Kai brings up a good point. Yeah, I am one of those people. I went through that.
I am
too. We went through that. And
Yeah.
I will be as transparent as possible. When you're told something, when you're told you got to go because the means to keep you on isn't there, and then you learn that that's not true, and you learn that information is false and misleading, you feel utterly disrespected as just a human being on a level of this honor system that we seem to operate in. And let's be transparent and honest with one another, right? In this situation, it's only magnified because it's public knowledge how much you're earning. It's public knowledge. You learn this, and it's 100 times what some of these other companies who behave like this make. So if you want to make a comparison of oh, well, maybe they just actually didn't have that much, there's no argument Activision-Blizzard can lay down to this layoff. There's just no argument. There isn't, other than we don't care about these people and we at the top want to profit.
You can't have your cake and eat it too here, especially when everyone knows how much you're making. You can't just be like, well, we couldn't pay these workers, so we're laying them off. It's like, we all know how much money you have. You can't use that as an excuse. Could you not at least find another excuse to make? You wouldn't even make up something that sounds like it was real. You're gonna go with this, what seems like a straight up lie here. Odo says, when your company had to lay off people, we kept them as long as possible or displaced them to other roles. Lastly, for those who couldn't, they got severance pay and job assistance. I think that is the way to go. If you really must lay off an employee, I think it's important to assist them, to recommend them, to maybe help them with their network to find another job if you really do respect them, saying I know your skill set is good, you did good work, it just wasn't in the cards for you to work here, but you should still be working somewhere, versus just cutting the cord and saying good luck, it's not our problem.
Yeah, this kind of behavior just got to stop. This is where you just get to a place of any industry, the gaming industry, film industry, manufacturing industry, farm industry, whatever industry it is, this kind of behavior, we just got to uproot this. And sometimes as consumers, the best thing that we can do is take our money that we put into these companies and move it to a different company that respects its employees, that treats them like the human beings that they are, the dignity that just comes with the simple fact that you exist in this world and you should be treated fairly, right? You should be treated equally. We all cry for it. We all want it. So, I have a point of contention because some of the most popular streams are Call of Duty Modern Warfare 20, and it's yeah, that's great because it's a fun game and people like it and it's got attention, but all that does is continue to bolster sales for a company that doesn't care for its employees. It only cares about the bottom dollar.
It does. And Meg says if higher ups can afford to take a huge pay cut, they should to help their employees. I know there are some entrepreneurs who do that. I think Mark Cuban did that. So he could pay the staff that worked at stadiums, which I thought was super cool. Yeah. I was like, wow, I think, that's how you do business. If, you instead of just laying these people off, who have mouths to feed and have families to care for, I think if you're that rich, you do have some responsibility to watch out for the people that you hire. You're taking them under your wing, you better take care of them to an extent. I have a lot of respect for that. And I don't think some of these, huge top executives are going to be starving or being in any, big trouble if they just, kept some of these people on more, or did something versus just outright setting them free.
And you and I have talked about this off stream. It's always something when you listen to someone who's a high up in a company talking about the struggles of making decisions, and you can see their home. You can see the size of their home. You can see the luxuries they've put around themselves as they're speaking and talking about these struggles, And it's just, it feels just so hypocritical, and it just is like, well, do you need to live in $1 million home while there's 300 people being laid off? I mean, there's these questions that it becomes ethical, and this is where it's like the slippery slope of like, what kind of regulation do you put in? The only thing that I can say to that is like, well, clearly the way we're doing it isn't working, because these people shouldn't be suffering. One person shouldn't be existing and like a Bobby Kotick type who's everything's fine and great for them, while hundreds, maybe thousands of employees who has worked under him have suffered because of his decision-making.
I absolutely agree. And I'm not saying that like no one deserves to be rich. I think if you work hard, you earn your keep, make your money, be wealthy, live in indulgence if you want to. But also $100 to me and $100 to Bill Gates are very different amounts of money.
And that's where the point of like, there is some line there. There is some place here where we have to come in and kind of like regulate this a little bit, just somewhat of it, because the more stories I hear, and this is just always interesting, is like, what if you think about Activision-Blizzard? What was the last good story you heard about Activision-Blizzard?
The last story, not good, was the Hong Kong thing that happened.
Yeah.
When they took someone off the air.
Yeah.
I don't remember a good story. Do you have any good stories?
I can't name one.
I can't name a good story.
I can't. I literally can't name one. And doesn't that say something? Doesn't that, allow the space to be there? Like, guys, these guys are generating $1 billion in about 3 to 4 months' time. That's nothing to just bat an eye at and be like, oh, that's no problem.
Yeah, I think the only good story is just the money that they've made. And I'm like, do they not care about good? Don't they want good press? Don't they want like feel good stories about them? I guess not. I guess if they're having articles about how much money they've made, that's enough. Very telling.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And then what is somewhat rewarding is when you hear of other companies like Epic Games working to take the money that they're earning and take the status of a whale that they are inside the gaming industry and put it towards independent developers, or getting behind more developers in their own company and creating this space, giving back. CD Projekt Red, another company that is probably going to crush record numbers for being the small studio that it is in comparison to some of these other ones when Cyberpunk 2077 comes out. Another one where employees willingly subjected themselves to crunch time because they believed in the vision and they loved the company that they worked for. There's all this stuff that just comes with it where it's like, this story is just another moment where you sit back and you go, when is enough enough? When does it become too much? When does something finally change where we don't hear the behavior of $1 billion company doing stuff like this?
Right. Where's the line here? Where do people draw it? How much do consumers, are consumers able to make a change as well? I think in my chat, someone was like, people don't realize that if everyone just stopped spending money at some of these companies, they would go under so fast. But the problem is so many people think that like, oh, well, like just me isn't going to make a difference. And then nothing happens. So I hope people speak out. I hope people, talk about this and talk about how it's really messed up. I don't know what the top streamers are going to do. I assume they're just going to keep playing their games. I would love to see some of these streamers, even if they want to play those games, even if maybe they need to for their livelihoods, to still speak out about this and to bring awareness and to put, some pressure on Activision-Blizzard here.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea and a wonderful resolution to just continue to generate that public response. And on a lighter note, Kyle Almighty got the guess for me because it is black coffee in my mug. So cheers to you, Kai. And also, moving on to a lighter note because it's more of like, wait, what? another bigger entity like Google, the Stadia, has an event coming up, and guys, it is promising us good stuff.
That's all I want. Good stuff. Thank you, Stadia. So while once Google Stadia was looking to be a service that would carve a brave new frontier of streaming-based gaming, it now looks to have dropped out of the conversation considerably, except when we talk about it on DGN to talk about how much of a mess it is. So while Google's game service has seen the release of many major titles apparently, it still seems as if the company is struggling for mindshare, especially as a new generation of consoles are at our doorsteps. But regardless, it seems Google is determined to fight on, and they have got some good stuff planned for you.
In a strange and rather cryptic teaser, the official Twitter promised the good stuff, that it's coming along, and with a video of a sign that is literally just displaying good stuff. It's odd, and it seems like it will be 3 days of reveals, announcements, surprises, and it all starts next week. And they even promise that they'll have 3 games that can be tried right away. And we do know that Google has had a few partnerships in the gaming sphere, so it's possible that it may be time to show those off.
The Good Stuff event will start on October 20th and last until October 22nd. I think they were trying to be like cool and relatable. Malice says, check out all this good stuff in my van. Like, I think Fall Guys could pull off a Good Stuff event. I don't think anyone else really could.
No, that's actually a wonderful example of when a company could use good stuff and how in which the company could do it. Google and Stadia is not that company. Because how underwhelming has this device been, this service been? And you go as far as to be like, guys, we got some good stuff. It's coming.
It's like, shouldn't you have good stuff to begin with? Also, I've got to say, it's really underwhelming when they're like, we're going to have 3 games you can try. I'm like, we just talked about the Steam Fall Festival, Autumn Festival, where they have hundreds of game demos to try. You know, you're going to come out with 3. I understand it's cloud, so you don't have to download it, but still, it doesn't sound that impressive.
Not at all. But it's Google, guys. They could have Googled, should we use good stuff in our promotion of our own material? And they didn't, clearly. And here we go. Like Crispy said, guys, let's go. Finally, good stuff.
When I was looking up, some footage on like, what's Stadia been up to? I didn't realize there was a Stadia Connect back in July. And I'm like, this wasn't on anyone's radar, or it certainly wasn't on ours. And I'm like, can they hire new PR people? Is this just like a sinking ship that they kind of feel like they have to keep like chugging along? It's super vague. Stadia Connect, I don't know, what that means. Like, I know what like an Xbox or a PS5 showcase is gonna be. For Stadia, I'm like, it's just games we already know probably that are just coming to Stadia. I don't know what new information I could get here. It's probably gonna be like, oh, maybe we have new games for Stadia, I think is what this event is.
Malice's comment there. The tweet should be at Google. Why didn't you just Google synonyms for good stuff? Like, what? Who's the marketing person where they were like, hey, marketing guy or gal, listen, we've got some stuff planned. We need to figure out how to get their attention. Promise them some good stuff. That's great. We'll throw it in neon lettering. We'll tweet it. They'll want it.
That's the tweet. That's all we need. I've got to admit, it's just such a case of Schadenfreude, I guess. Maybe I'm just really cynical, but I love seeing Amazon and Google fail so miserably and botch some of these launches so hard because they have so much money behind them, and you can tell that they're not in touch with the actual consumers.
This is another example of that. I genuinely enjoy this because of what you just said. It is like they have all the tools at their disposal to be very, very successful, and it's just failing miserably. And it's like nothing that they do, you hear the whole, it's a V shape. You know, you start up and then you go down and then it, comes back up. Yeah, sometimes that's just not true. And that's literally called a crash and burn. And RIP Stadia.
Totally. They're really struggling. I don't know why. I feel like at this point there's enough, gaming experts. There's people that have been in the space for years. Esports has been around for a while now. I don't know why they're not consulting these people. I don't know if it's a case of like hubris where they're like, oh, well, we're the money makers. We know it's best. Because I've seen that happen where people don't actually listen to those who do have the boots on the ground and are really plugged into the community. It doesn't sound like Stadia's en route for comeback, especially with xCloud. I don't know if this is just going to be a slow death for Stadia.
Yeah, xCloud is good stuff for Microsoft.
Nice.
Yeah.
It is. But what's not good stuff is there's a game that's turning 8 years old and is still pretty much going nowhere, and some of the things it promised are still a long way off. Can anyone in the chat guess what game I'm talking about?
I had no idea it was 8 years old. We still have not seen single player campaign.
We have not. Hashtag roadmap. I think chat knows what we're talking about. Star Citizen turns 8.
Is the game. Yeah, where is Coombs? So, Star Citizen single player campaign, which is known as Squadron 42, is still in development. And Cloud Imperium Games has insisted, but don't hold your breath, that it's not coming out anytime soon.
CIG boss Chris Roberts said in an AMA on the Roberts Space Industries website to coincide with Star Citizen's 8th birthday, happy 8th birthday, Star Citizen. It was unveiled on October 10th, 2012. Chris Roberts says, we still have a ways to go before we are in a beta, but everyone on Squadron 42 is working very hard to deliver something great.
The AMA was meant to celebrate Star Citizen's milestone, but among posts about upcoming features for the main game, were questions from clearly disgruntled fans who complained about the radio silence around Squadron 42, which is currently 6 years behind its original delivery target.
Squadron 42 is meant to be a cinematic, star-studded story, single-player adventure akin to the Wing Commander games Roberts made his name with in the 90s. CIG has revealed flashy trailers for the game, starring virtual recreations of Hollywood actors such as Mark Hamill, Gillian Anderson, Gary Oldman, and Mark Strong, but it has yet to become playable for backers in any form.
So Squadron 42 was originally announced for a release in 2014 during the Star Citizen Kickstarter campaign, but it was delayed multiple times. And in mid-2019, CIG said a beta release was planned before the end of Q2 of 2020. Then it became an estimated Q3 of 2020 on a now-abandoned roadmap. But that date has, of course, passed, and there has been no meaningful communication from the studio on the status of 42's release.
A user called Bobblenator in an AMA question said, as it stands, the community has completely divided opinions on the expected release date of Squadron 42, with opinions varying from that it's currently in beta to it being over 5 years away.
Went on to say this. You stated in the pledge and linked this statement. We, the developer, intend to treat you with the same respect we would give a publisher. You will receive regular updates about the progress of the game. And given the massive uncertainty of the progress of Squadron 42 within the community, person asked, do you feel as though you have been meeting this objective?
Robert stepped in to address this question, announcing the imminent release of a show focused just on Squadron 42 called The Briefing Room. New episodes are planned every 3 months until the game comes out. Roberts admitted, however, that the studio hasn't done a good job of showing progress on Squadron 42.
He says this, Squadron 42 is a tricky project to communicate on as we really don't want to give the experience and story away, which can make updating on certain content or features challenging.
Roberts stressed the pledge Bobblenator referred to in their question related to Star Citizen as opposed to Squadron 42 because each has its own development roadmap, and insisted, quote, "We also communicate way more than any other developer or publisher than I am aware of in terms of work in progress," which sounds very Trumpian to me, just saying like, we communicate the most. Therefore, you should be fine with it. We're the top dogs here. We're communicators.
We have the biggest communication, don't worry. So he went on to suggest that different people want different types of communication, like ranging from deep dives to release date announcements.
And said it's impossible to please all the people all the time. And with a project as complicated as Star Citizen or even Squadron 42, it's impossible to have ironclad dates due to the huge amount of ongoing R&D. So yes, I do feel like we have been meeting the pledge.
Okay. Well, Roberts went on to say in a separate post that he addressed concerns about the status of Squadron 42 specifically. And unfortunately, it sounds like fans will have to wait longer. He even said this: "You're not really asking about what is being worked on in Squadron 42. You just want to know when it will be done."
So they replied, "The best answer for your question is Squadron 42 will be done when it is done, and will not be released just to make a date, but instead once all the tech and content is finished, polished, and it plays great. I am not willing to compromise making a game I believe in with all my heart and soul, and even though everyone, including me, wants Squadron 42 sooner than later, it would be doing a huge disservice to everyone working really hard on the project, and all of you that are looking forward to it to deliver something that isn't great."
He then finished, and actually he went on to say a little bit more. The new roadmap will show how we're doing towards that goal. And as we get closer to the end, it will be more accurate. But it will never be a perfect crystal ball of the future, as there will always be a certain amount of unpredictability in game development, especially when the game is hugely ambitious and has a very high quality bar. Red Dead Redemption 2, Last of Us 2, and now Cyberpunk have all taken a lot longer than originally communicated, and those projects didn't even announce a release date until very deep into their production when most of their tech had been resolved.
Roberts continues to say, "We still have a ways to go before we are in beta, but everyone on Squadron 42 is working very hard to deliver something great." So, as you'd expect, Robert's comments have sparked a vociferous response among the game's community, with some players complaining about the long development time of Squadron 42 and others saying they're actually happy to wait.
He goes on to say, "See, the issue I have is that we're not treated with the same respect as..." Actually, a Redditor, I was like, this doesn't sound like Roberts. A Redditor responded and said, "The issue I have is we're not treated with the same respect as the publisher. A publisher is told how far along things are. A publisher is told when something is taking longer than expected, where challenges have been encountered and content's been cut. We're treated like players, only given the good news and shown the shiny things in the hopes we'll buy more JPEGs."
So the JPEGs is in reference to the sale of virtual spaceships you can't actually fly in-game. Star Citizen has raised an astonishing $314 million from nearly 3 million people since launching as a crowdfunded project in 2012, and the money continues to roll in. According to the official website, Star Citizen generated over $3 million in September. Drilling down further, $236,775 was made just on October 9th.
Star Citizen and Chris Roberts have come under fire for years now for failing to release the game and provide an actual target release date. The developers launched the Star Citizen Alpha 3.11 high impact update and kicked off a Halloween-themed event as well as an in-game election. Fans will watch the new Squadron 42 show, which is supposed to be due out, and hopefully it'll draw up some great interest.
At first, I was thinking these people are incompetent. Now I'm thinking they're probably still incompetent, but I think maybe they have like this massive idea for a game and they just can't do it because the project is too big. And instead of scaling it down and actually getting something done, they're just kind of trudging on forever to meet this like super lofty goal that's way too far into the future.
I couldn't agree more. It's like, you set this goal for yourself as a game, you recognize it's most likely we're not going to hit this goal. You don't just address that. It's too ambitious in certain areas. We need to scale down. Or you continue to tell yourself, we're going to meet it. Because, like, when you look at the gameplay and you look at the footage that you're seeing right now, it's impressive. It looks fun. It looks like there's a lot to do. It's supposed to be this, like, open universe of exploration and all this stuff. But at the same time, 6 years of campaign development from when it was said it was going to release. There's no way you compare that to Red Dead Redemption 2, Roberts. No. There's no way you compare that to CD Projekt Red's Cyberpunk 2077. Didn't take CD Projekt Red to deliver Cyberpunk 2077's campaign in 6 years.
Waffle says, of the 100 promised start systems, there's not a single one complete as of May 2019. And Kai says it doesn't have, it's not like they don't have money. It seems like this is just too ambitious. This game, I don't think is ever going to be ready to play. A lot of the YouTube comments on some Star Citizen stuff say, like, I'm so excited for when my grandchildren get to finally play Star Citizen because it's so far off in the future. I mean, I think also as more time goes by, they're never going to be able to keep up, because if it's going to be like, well, new specs come out and they're probably going to be like, well, we want ray tracing, we want better graphics to keep up with the modern times, and they have to redo a lot of the work that they've done, or they have to add more onto that. I think this project is just too big. I think if you want to play Star Citizen, just know that you're going to be playing it in its current state, and that's going to be it. I think that people with expectations that this is going to be like the game of the future need to really, rein those in and reel those back.
Couldn't have said it better myself. That was a wonderful way to put that. Like, it's just the reality.
This is the game
of Star Citizen. This is what we are looking at. I think 8 years later, you can recognize when a game or any type of thing or a project in development is probably going to end up where it's going to end up. I think it's a fair assessment to make. But there is a game coming out that seems really exciting, unique, and it comes from a company we don't actually talk about too much on here, at least a publisher that we haven't talked about too much here, which is a game called Aquanox Deep Descent. And we actually have a 4-minute trailer that THQ Nordic just released yesterday to give like an explanation of what this game is.
So let's take a look at the trailer and check out what is Aquanox Deep Descent.
Are you ready, Kaisa?
I'm ready.
All right. 3, 2, 1, let's watch.
The Earth. That's what they called this planet once. It's hard to believe now.
I like the narrator.
We did what humans always do. We lost everything. What remains of mankind now lives in those stations deep beneath the surface of the sea.
Sounds like Rapture.
This is the world of Aqua.
In Aquanox Deep Descent, you are awoken from cryostasis into a deep-sea dystopia torn by the struggle for resources and survival.
Kind of looks like Squadrons with the interface.
You can experience the world of Aqua in single-player, 4-player drop-in, drop-out co-op, or against other Aquanauts in player-versus-player dogfights.
Oh, wow. It sounds like Squadrons, but the ocean.
There are more than 5 different factions currently on record. From the militant Atlantic Alliance, fighting the nanoplankton plague, to the Clans Union, who are technologically advanced warriors, united in pushing underwater exploration to its limits.
That's cool.
It's up to you to find out what their hidden agendas are. Throughout your adventure, there will be several types of customizable ships at your disposal.
Oh, that's cool.
Recon-type ships are best at taking cover, moving fast, and eliminating enemies from distance. They are usually equipped with less armor, but make up for it with fairly powerful shields. To give you an edge in battle, combat ships are equipped with up to 2 secondary weapons and solid shields. Often at least twice as armored as recons, they're significantly less agile.
It's almost like Mech Warrior underwater.
The ships look so Halo-like. I love
moving
it.
Battle stations armored to the teeth to withstand heavy fire, ideal for frontline destruction of enemy forces. All this armor, however, comes at a cost. you will be heavily outmatched in tight spaces due to slow maneuverability. All ships in Aqua carry primary weapons that define combat encounters. The right pairing of weapons will give you the edge you need. There are plenty to choose from. The long-range high-impact shard, the nanoplankton canister launcher, various breaker torpedo launchers, or perhaps the close-range shrapnel, to name a few. Various offensive and defensive ability modules are crucial in getting the upper hand in the heat of battle. Choosing your primary weapons and ability systems.
I think it's interesting that the movement is kind of slow because you're underwater and you can't see very far.
No.
Up close and
you're deep down, so there's no light down there. So it's only the light that's giving off around you, yeah.
When crafting your own ammo, upgrading your ships, or installing weapons and ability modules, you have to gather materials. Luckily for you, the ocean's deep is a graveyard of those who failed the survival of the fittest.
Ooh.
Wrecks and lost cargo are waiting to be salvaged.
Head through the tunnels. I'll keep the Bions busy. Whatever happens, you must survive.
They're coming around. We need to get out of here, now.
Get out of here. What are you waiting for?
Scanner's clear. I think that was the last of them. Wait, no.
What's happening?
Voice acting's,
We have to stop Manta. Aqua
Could be better.
needs you.
Wow. October 16th. Wait, what?
Whoa, 2 days!
Whoa, hold on.
Whoa!
I didn't realize that whatsoever. That looks like a lot of fun.
I didn't realize it was that looks like that does look like a ton of fun. So, for veteran gamers, the Aquanox franchise is well known for its underwater action and dystopian future setting, but not everyone is acquainted with the series from its debut in 2001. What if you could take a more detailed look at the vehicle combat shooter, learn about its features, see what happened, as we just did?
So one of the things that we think of as a really good idea is in this explanation trailer, the game was announced on October 16th on your PC for $29.99, and there is a limited edition available. Yeah, I mean, that's just 2 days right around the corner. $30?
$30. So it's first-person underwater vehicle shooter. As you can see, there's customizable ships. You can engage in battles in this dystopian world.
So in the near future, as they were saying in the video, the Earth's surface has become uninhabitable, and what remains of humankind lives in the former mining and research stations deep below the surface of the sea. So you, when you come to life in this world, are born and raised in only this world that we know, which is a loose network of underwater settlements, 5 of them to be exact, torn by war for resources and dominance between various factions.
Take control of a team of highly trained fighter pilots and experience an epic story in the deep sea world of Aquanox. Send your enemies down to Davy Jones' locker with well-aimed torpedoes, mortars, mines, and more. Explore the deepest corners of the oceans, mysterious, hazardous, uncharted. What are your initial impressions?
I think it's a game I would try, and part of the reason I would just try it is I love the setting being underwater. Rapture is one of the best settings in a video game. I think a lot of us can agree. More of this underwater. I mean, it's going to emulate like space combat. So when you're making the squadrons type reference to it, yeah, it makes complete sense. But I love the aspect of like, well, you're deep underwater. There's not enough sunlight getting there. So the only light you're going to see is whatever light is coming around the environment and the depths, and the light's coming from the settlements.
I think I was really into the game until kind of the end there, and then when you were kind of like the voice acting, and I was like the game looks really cool. I hope the mechanics are cool. They seem cool. I think for a game can really be made by the music track that plays when you're playing, and as you said, that voice acting. So when it kind of all came together and we actually saw some gameplay, it was maybe a little less hype than I hoped. I hope that when you're actually playing the game, they like blast that music, or it does seem more intense.
Yeah, and I think we've seen time and time again where maybe the voice acting or the music and the sound design isn't the greatest. Games can update, and they can make the change happen in that regard, and it's usually an easier process. So that could be the case. I think what is most important for this game is that the core gameplay stands up. It's fun. It's rewarding. There's a variety. I like the drop-in, drop-out co-op up to 4 players. that brings a lot of fun in the PvP aspect. You know, there's so much there in terms of, like you were saying, with that Squadrons appeal that I was just naturally drawn to it. I would try it out, but I am hesitant to drop $30 on a game when you learn of a game like Genshin Impact, which is just, hey, it's free to play. If you like it, spend money. If you so choose. You know, there's that struggle there when you see a game like this and you're like, I'm not too sure. Can I demo it?
Right, can I demo it? Is it going to be on Steam? Can I try it and then maybe get a refund if I'm not happy with it? I agree. I think this game is worth trying. It looks fun. It looks super cool. It looks like it's fun, but I would like to test it out before fully committing.
And if anybody in the chat, anybody watching, you play this, let us know in the mailbag. Give us the down low on this game. Tell us how you feel about it, if you like it. Yeah, just use the mailbag command there too. Submit it, because yeah, I'm not too sure I'm gonna dabble with this right away, but I would love to know, since it is like 2 days around the corner, for whoever's out there is like, you know what, I'll demo it.
Please let us know. But that does bring us to the end of our daily gaming news today. I love Kai's guesses for my drink. Kai's is drinking air, the tears of people who couldn't guess. I'm drinking chamomile tea today.
Boom. No one got it.
Cheers. No one got it.
The variety has paid off. And yes, thank you everyone so much for hanging with us as we are at the end of the Daily Gaming News Hour. For those of you that have just joined, we will do a rerun of this episode as well as previous episodes. We also have a YouTube channel, so for all the likes, the follows, the subscriptions, thank you so much. The donations, literally, we can't do this without you. We really love that DGN family.
Thank you so much for joining us. This is a lot of fun for us, so we love to be able to share it with you. We're going to be playing reruns after the show. We're also going to be scheduling videos to post on YouTube of our VODs. Let us know in the mailbag if you have any topics, if you have any suggestions, if you have any questions for us, if there's any developers you'd want us to interview, or anyone that you know that might want to be on the show for an interview who works in the gaming space.
Absolutely. And if you want to hang with me in a little bit, probably about 30 minutes or so, I'm going to hop on and play some Star Wars Squadrons, get in some gameplay. Hopefully it's not like it was the other day where it just felt like every ship could destroy me in 2 to 3 shots and people were somehow shooting me when I wasn't in their crosshairs and I was dying. It was a weird experience. Maybe it's been updated, who knows, but gonna be hopping into some Squadrons here in a little bit.
I hope it's been updated, and I'll be on at 6 p.m. with chatting and The Witcher, and of course we'll be on tomorrow from 1 to 2 with the news.
But for Daily Gaming News on October 14th, 2020, I am Marrone.
I am Kaisa. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll catch you later.
See you later, everybody.